e-edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
And now, from the Dignity Health Studio at the Bakersfield Californian, it's time to open up with Dawn and Tina, your favorite pair, on the air.
Indeed.
Yes, good morning. I'm Tina, and this is Dawn. This is Open Up, and we are so delighted to be here today. Have a wonderful show lined up, hearing about some heart matters.
And we're so glad you're back. You were back in the Carolinas for,
Yes.
a fifth birthday party for a nephew or something?
For my grandson.
Oh, how neat.
Yes, and it was really wonderful. Didn't get a whole lot of sleep.
Okay.
But anyway, glad to be back.
Hey, we want to share something with you as we start here. You know, we kind of tiptoed into this little talk show about, 4 or 5 months ago now?
Yes.
And I think our little secret is we had about 500 of you watching us. That's about it. At last count, I mean, we have 10,000 of you now have chosen to tune in and
Yes.
spend this time with us. We're so grateful. And I mean, we're talking all over California, all over the nation, and because it's a web show in about 7 different countries, so
yeah.
we sure welcome you, and we're
Yes.
trying to, even though we're local here in Bakersfield right now, we don't have Skype, so we can't bring you to us just yet, but we try to choose local things that have implications wherever you live. So that's what we're
yes.
trying to do. And
Yes.
so we're very excited today. You know, homelessness is a problem. Poverty is a problem. People losing their jobs, losing their homes, getting out on the street. And there's an organization, one of the oldest in America, and we've got a chapter right here in Bakersfield. And it's part of the rescue mission movement, and we are so proud to have Carlos Baldovinos, who is the director of the mission of Kern County. And Carlos, so
Welcome.
glad you came. You're doing such a worthy work, and you know, you kind of see society from a very nuanced angle. I mean, you see it in the raw. Tell us what's going on out there and how missions like yours across America are reaching out to serve the needs of people now.
Well, we're established here in Bakersfield. We've been open since 1952, so we're an old mission here in Kern County, and we're housing roughly 250 people per night, providing up to 200,000 meals a year. Now, not a whole lot of restaurants in Bakersfield and Kern County provide those kind of services. And, you know, from the movement from the rescue mission standpoint, out of 300 rescue missions in this beautiful country of ours, you have one right here in your backyard in Kern County. And
Yes.
it's amazing the work that's happening. I'm honored to do the good work that's happening here in Bakersfield, and I see the community rallying behind the work that we're doing each and every day, and it's wonderful. We couldn't do the work we're doing without the volunteers, without the church participation, without our donors helping us move forward.
Since 1952, and a group of men started this. Tell us about that.
Yeah, a group of businessmen from all over, basically from Fresno, Bakersfield, you name it. They came together and started what you call the Bakersfield Rescue Mission. And it's something that, you know, when I think of those founders, of the wonderful work that they did of coming together and having a heart for the needy.
Yes.
This is something that I look at, and they could have probably done many other things. They probably could have invested their time and efforts in other things, and they chose to help the down and out and the least of these. And today, look what the mission's doing in this county. It's wonderful.
Carlos, I think one of the most shocking things is if you took where those founders started and the population they served, the stereotype is an older man, grizzled, an alcoholic out on the street, to where we are today and the kind of people that are out on the street and their age numbers. It's a shocking contrast. Share that with us.
Yeah, it's a contrast, and you're absolutely right, Don, that we're seeing more and more younger folks come into our mission for help. If it's for substance abuse, if it's for even, they call it gaming addictions. That's, Xbox and those things that they have given everything up for this, for this lifestyle. And that's the thing, that addiction doesn't have any barriers. It really touches whomever. And it's
I
something
remember seeing a woman at the mission that I thought she was on your staff. She was well groomed and attractive, and she had just gambled through everything, and her husband, just in tough love, finally just had to kick her out.
And that's a story. There's many stories like that, Don. And like going back to the comment that you said about the younger folks coming through, and that is absolutely right. I mean, we're seeing as young as 19 years old coming through our doors. So that means those folks that are 19 years old are coming through our doors probably started an addiction at a very tender age of maybe 12 or 13. And so when I think of addictions and substance abuse, it's something that's an epidemic nationwide. And so we've looked in different partnerships to maybe with the school districts to talk to the children, talk to the high school kid about that, it's not great to go out and party because this is what it leads you to. And it's real life stuff that, that maybe they're not going to amount to much if they keep in this lifestyle.
So how did Carlos Baldovinos become executive director?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I number one, let me tell you, I've been to Kern County before. 10 years ago, I was part of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association that set up the Franklin Graham Festival here.
Really?
So I've been to Kern County before. I've been to Bakersfield before, and through a process of being with the Graham organization after we left Bakersfield back in 2004, I ended up doing some other festivals worldwide, and for some reason, Bakersfield, I always felt Bakersfield was home. And I'm not from this area. I'm originally from the upper Midwest. And really felt Bakersfield is a place that I can call home. And through different scenarios, God working things out, I went through an interview process back almost 4 years ago. And a really grueling interview process. And went through that process, and I was chosen to be the executive director at the mission. And through this time, we've had a rebrand. We've had a new name. We're called the Mission at Kern County with the tagline, "Do you believe?" Same mission.
Okay.
We're still doing the good work of helping the homeless and the folks that are going through addiction, but it's a new face in the community. And we're not only just helping people in Bakersfield, but we're helping people through Kern County. We get folks that are coming to us from Ridgecrest, from Tehachapi, from Lake Isabella, from Delano. So it's not just that the outreach is not just to Bakersfield, but it's surrounding.
Carlos, you and your staff at the mission here and those 300 other missions across the nation walk a very fine tightrope between just serving these people and helping them and enabling them. The tough love of how long do you let them stay before you start to see change? What do you require so they're not just freeloading off of you instead of freeloading out in the streets?
Well, we do give them the gospel of Jesus Christ. That we're a faith-based organization, and with that, there is biblical classes that they have to go through. And we don't push the gospel on them; it's up to them to accept it. We do have many classes for them to go through to get to know Christ better, to get their life together, and we help them with life skills. Now, our recovery programs are 12 months in length, but recently we just added transitional housing about a year ago for the men, and we just opened up a women's transitional housing back in August. So we have 2 transitional units for both men and women that graduate our program. So literally a person that comes in through our doors that wants to get help with addictions can go through the program itself for 12 months and an additional 12 months in transitional. So 24 months to get their life back on track.
Okay. And the housing is located where? At the East 21st Street location?
Yeah, we have a beautiful campus there on East 21st Street. And, and through the years, we've been able to, we have refurbished that, like the transitional housing that I was referring to. That's basically a property that we have there on site. It's the upstairs of our men's building that we took basically 4,500 square feet and transformed it. I mean, it was basically used as storage. And we just turned that place into a 15-bed unit for men that are going through transition.
You know, I have to congratulate you because I need to tell our viewers, 15 years ago, the rescue mission here in Bakersfield, I mean, looked like a minimum security prison in a third world country. Wow. I mean, it smelled. It was barbed fence around it, topped with barbed wire. I think the only recreation was, remember a peach box with a black and white television with rabbit ears and a broken down sofa. The guys could sit and watch it for a while. And you're right, Carlos. Now the transformation, it looks like a small college campus. It's a beautiful facility that women can feel safe and go down and minister to the women there. But listen, you know, you were talking about the 24 months. Don't you have to chuckle when you read about celebrities down in Hollywood that they go down to a 30-minute rehab, or I'm sorry, a 30-day rehab in some fancy place after they've been addicted from age 14. Does anyone really come off an addiction in 30 days?
You know what? No. It's a process, and it's something that addiction, if you look at it from a very close standpoint, there's some issues, underlying issues that that those folks are going through addictions went into addictions. You know, that's why they got into this. So there may be emotional issues, maybe childhood issues that they never dealt with, that we help them deal with that. And 30 days, I yet have to see one of our men and women that have come through do it in 30 days. I'm not saying they can't do it, but I do say our method of the process we have works. And it's been a proven method. And many other folks throughout our country use it. You know, the rescue missions and many other organizations like ours use this method of 12 months. It seems like that's the number. And 30 days, I do believe it's a little bit of a joke.
Do you have throughout the year fundraisers and things to tell us about that?
Yeah, we have. We're very intentional about fundraisers, and we want to raise awareness in the community and what we're doing. And we have one coming up, especially just in about 4 weeks from Saturday. It's called the Mission Possible 5K. And we're having it at Calm, Mission Possible 5K.
It.
So, we're excited about that. And
I am too.
Yeah, so, we'd love to get the viewers involved in that.
Yes, I was going to say, it's open to the public?
Up into the public. And you don't have to run. You can walk.
Okay.
And be a great time of just fellowship and just and all the monies raised are going to go back to the mission, to the good work of the mission.
Chris McCullough, our producer, why don't we put the website of the mission up on the screen right now? There it is, the Mission of Kern County, and there's how to get there. Very, very simple, www.themission KC, meaning KernCounty.org. So, Carlos, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sponsoring this program. You're helping to make this all possible, and we really appreciate you and the mission.
Don and Tina, thank you so much, and God bless you both.
I'll see you at the run.
Sounds good.
When we come back, I want to ask you, have you ever, believer, unbeliever, have you ever just felt that even vaguely, there's a purpose for your life, or some call, some special thing you ought to be doing, and maybe you've resisted that call, maybe you tried to figure out what it is? You're about to hear from one of the most special men here in Bakersfield and Kern County who did get such a call and resisted it, and then took him on the most amazing path. And it's a story you got to hear. We'll be right back.
We get discounts for having our homeowners and our vehicle insured with them.
And we get a multiple car discount for having, and we also have a security system. We get a discount for having that.
We put our house and our cars together and our trailer.
We get the discount for not having car accidents.
We've been very happy, very satisfied with the discount rate that they give to us.
Low rates with the local advantage. That's Personal Express.
The new book is out. That was easy. I would title this thing sort of a description of what raising children is like. That was easy. I've been writing columns now for about 25 years. Writing has always been a conversation. You're taking somebody by the hand for 3 or 4 minutes, and you're not letting go. The new book, That Was Easy. Nothing easy about any of this, but We've had some fun, and I hope you guys will have some fun looking at this book.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield Californian. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores.
The Bakersfield Californian is a great read on the iPad, but did you know that the Bakersfield Californian is available on your Kindle Fire? Or how about Google's Nexus 7, the Nook? You bet. You can also read a full replica of the newspaper on your Android-powered smartphone, on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
Kern Business Journal contains news and information from local business leaders and organizations. Topics include agriculture, health and medical, energy, real estate, and more. Visit KernBusinessJournal.com to find out how to subscribe or where to pick up a free copy. To inquire about advertising in the bi-monthly Business Journal, call 395-7586. Find us online on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on KernBusinessJournal.com.
Oh, welcome back.
Took you by surprise, huh?
No, but so exciting. I got these new glasses, and they are a wide instead of a narrow.
They fall off.
They automatically fall off. So anyway, welcome back. We are so excited. Thanks to our sponsor, we had Carlos Baldovinos from the Mission of Kern County.
Yeah,
and now we're about ready for some exciting things here.
Listen, I'll tell you, the world is talking about the new Pope, right? Who named himself after St. Francis of Assisi, the first Pope outside of Europe, an Argentinian. Well, there are a lot of people who say, we think right here in Bakersfield, we have the guy who should be the first American Pope. And you're about to meet him. And how and I asked him to come on specifically because I've heard the story of his path to the priesthood. And it's such an interesting story. And Father Craig Harrison of St. Francis of Assisi Church here, take us back to those days when you kind of felt that tug in your spirit, decided, nah, I'm going another way, and then where we ended up.
When you brought up Pope Francis, I have to tell you is that I look at his walk and where he is today and what he's doing in the church, and it's just the spirit that he brings, and the spirit of St. Francis. And my middle name is Francis, and being pastor of St. Francis, I feel this, because people in any faith tradition, to be called to ministry is a very unique thing. I don't know too many people that are born into it. I was born here, raised in Bakersfield, and local kid, raised a Catholic. My parents, my father, Don Harrison, was a teacher at Bakersfield High and a coach at Bakersfield High his whole life. My mother was a junior high teacher. We grew up in Westchester, and my parents sent me to St. Francis School, where I'm now pastor, but in third grade, I got kicked out. I think somebody tells me I hit a nun or something.
Oh, wow.
And then and then I went to Franklin Elementary, Emerson Junior High, and then Bakersfield High School. And
Did you play sports?
I did. I played football, and I was a swimmer at Bakersfield High, and I was very active. I was student body president and Key Club president, and I was involved in my church and all. And then I kind of, I graduated, I was 17, I went away, I got accepted, I went to UCLA, and my faith life kind of changed. I lived in a fraternity.
Which one?
Phi Kappa Psi.
Okay.
And I don't remember a lot about my fraternity days, but I had a great time. But that's when I kind of went through my faith thing. I left the church. I felt like the church was something my parents gave me. You know, you have to go, you have to go. But I never, I don't think I ever developed this personal relationship with Christ or anything. And I went.
Now, before we leave
sure, go ahead.
UCLA, your dating life there was and is legendary.
I told you I don't remember much about
well,
UCLA.
tell us about that. I mean, there were some famous names involved in this.
You know, when you go to UCLA, there's a lot of other people that were celebrity stuff. I got to do some little part-time things, little part-time movies, some commercial things, because when you're on campus, sometimes they would recruit you for those things. But I did get to go to a dance and everything with Heather Locklear, which everybody loves to talk about. But these young kids today, they don't even know who she is.
Yeah.
It's killing me. I loved it. I loved it when, you know, when that was something. But you know, you met these people and you went to school with them, and you find out they're just regular people like you. But that was always the claim to fame, you know, that I did that. And later on in college, I got engaged, and I graduated with a degree in business and economics, and went to work for a real strong firm that in accounting and this. And I lived a really kind of neat life. I lived in the Century City area, and I was young. I was 20 years old, making more than my parents did as teachers, you know. And yet there was this yearning, this strange calling to me of, wait a minute, how could I be living? I love this life over here, the fast lane, and why do I keep feeling God calling me back to this? My first entrance back to church was in a non-denominational church, and to tell you the truth, it was wonderful. I loved the music. They really introduced me into reading scripture and studying it, and so I met a great group of people. I actually became a minister in this church in Los Angeles, and here I was Catholic, and you know, my mom, I'd come home to my mom and say, "Oh, Mom, you got to be born again." And my mom would always look at me and she goes, "I was born okay the first time. You do whatever you need to do." But my parents were always very solid in this. And through my studies of scripture and all these things, it was interesting. I just kept growing, and I kept hearing God, and I'm thinking, no, God, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I want to have a family. I want that. No, and you know, in the Catholic faith, priests don't get married. And so I said, no, I want this. And the tugging was so bad that I just thought, you know what? I have to find out if this is what God wants. So I quit my job, which my parents were like this. I ended my relationship, and I moved back to Bakersfield.
Wow.
Now, you can imagine, you send your kid to UCLA, he's doing all this stuff, and you're this, and then what's your son doing? Oh, he's home. What's he doing? And what I did is I got a job teaching math at Chipman Junior High. So I was Mr. Harrison at Chipman Junior High. And then I say that because I was at Costco the other day, and I ran into one of my kids, Rodney Hendricks, and he comes in there and he goes, "Monsignor Craig, I knew you," and he's yelling in the store with all the people there, and he goes, "I knew you when you were just Mr. Harrison." And he reminded me how long ago that was. So I was a math teacher in 1980 at Chipman, and I worked at the Tam O'Shanter as a bus because I needed money.
Tell the world what the Tam O'Shanter is.
Oh, Tam O'Shanter, a great rrestaurant.
No, it's a bar. Come on.
Yeah, it's a bar and restaurant. I said I probably heard more confessions there than I have as a priest. But it was a great restaurant here in Bakersfield for a long time. And, you know, I would see people again and all that. But you have to realize, too, people are looking at me going, "I thought you went away to college. I thought you did." And you're busing tables because I wasn't 21 years old yet, so I couldn't alcohol. And yet I was teaching, and most of the kids I were teaching were only 5, 6 years younger than I was. And then on weekends and stuff, I worked with the probation department, which led to another thing that transpired in my life. I was working with these at-risk kids, and some of them, they went through so many foster homes, they couldn't know what to do. So a couple of the probation officers said, "You should do foster care." So I became a foster parent. I ended up legally...
You're a single guy.
Yeah, single guy. I ended up legally adopting. I have 7 children, and I just had my 20th grandchild. So that's not bad for a celibate.
And
no
wife.
That's pretty good. No wife.
And no wife.
I have lots of wives. When you are a priest and you are a Catholic church, let me tell you, you have more women telling you what to do than anybody. I got lots of mothers and lots of wives. But, you know, and I didn't do this in a traditional way. My kids were raised by so many people who were friends of mine and helped me through all this. But it was at that time I made one of the biggest decisions in my life. I said, how am I going to do this? I have kids. I feel called to the priesthood. And so I interviewed. And you go down, and there's a big group of priests and sitting in a room, and I went in and walked in. I met all the guys that were interviewing. There were like 100 guys interviewing out here. And I thought, oh my gosh, these guys look holy. These guys, you know what I mean? And here I am, and I'm all worn out. And I go in for this interview. And I think, of course, I'm thinking you got to be honest. You know, these priests are asking me questions, and they're asking me questions about my college life. And well, you know, I tell people, you know, you want to be honest. And oftentimes kids and anybody else, they'll ask you things, and they'll say, you know, Father Craig, you ever got drunk? Father Craig, you ever had sex? Father Craig, you ever used drugs? And I try my best to be honest. I look them in the eye, and I tell them, I don't remember anything since the car accident. Because conversion to me is a car accident. Conversion is when that old life dies and a new life begins.
Oh, yes.
And so I do. And I look at that and I said, you know what? It doesn't matter what I did. Let me tell you about who I am today.
Yes.
Wow.
And even today, God willing, I'm a better person for my failings yesterday than I am today. So that was this transition I made was I'm going to apply. And I go in, and they ask me, and I said, I have children. Well, they've not ever had somebody come in with children. They said, you understand the church won't take care of them? I go, I understand. And my goal was, once I went to this interview, and once I got dropped, because I know they wouldn't take me, then I could say, God doesn't want me to do this. I can go on with my life.
Craig, I know it turned out different from what you thought. We're going to take a break. We're going to come, and don't go away, because it gets better as we go along. So we'll be right back with Father Craig Harrison from St. Francis of Assisi Church.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield, California. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores. Kern Business Journal contains news and information from local business leaders and organizations. Topics include agriculture, health and medical, energy, real estate, and more. Visit kernbusinessjournal.com to find out how to subscribe or where to pick up a free copy. To inquire about advertising in the bi-monthly business journal, call 395-7586. Find us online on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on kernbusinessjournal.com.
Save 50 to 90% with the Bakersfield Californian's Daily Deal featured on Bakersfield.com. A daily deal is offered each weekday on services from local restaurants, dry cleaners, health and beauty services, retail shops, and local activities for the entire family. The daily deal is 100% local. Find these amazing deals only at dailydeal.bakersfield.com.
I'm Lisa Kirsch, coming up Wednesday for you on Live Well, Senior Fitness with a certified personal trainer. We're also exploring 55-plus living communities with a senior real estate specialist. Our Mommy Roundtable is coming back by popular demand. This time we are focusing on surviving and thriving for empty nesters. These topics and much more coming up for you Wednesday on Live Well, only on Bakersfield.com.
The Bakersfield Californian is a great read on the iPad, but did you know that the Bakersfield Californian is available on your Kindle Fire? Or how about Google's Nexus 7, the Nook? You bet. You can also read a full replica of the newspaper on your Android-powered smartphone, on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Oh, we have been having such a time here. Again, thanks to our sponsor, Carlos Baldovinos with the Mission of Kern County, and Denise Haddock Interior Designs. What a lovely, look at this part of gold at the rainbow, huh? Oh, isn't that pretty? Look at that view. And our
I steal the money.
And our dear friend Chuck Noss down at the Nature's Food Market and Juice Bar. I want to mention them as well.
Yeah.
But now we're back, Don. To
Yes, so here we have a young man applying for the priesthood, hoping he's getting rejected, who's got adopted kids. So take us into the priesthood, and then we'll go from there.
You know, it didn't. Priesthood, by the way, is a 9-year study. Because of my grades and the classes and things I took, they gave me 4 years credit. So I knew that I'd be going for 5 more years. Well, when they sent me the letter that I was accepted, I was shocked. And so then I had to get my kids placed. My sister, people, friends of mine, I said, can you take this one while I'm in the seminary? And they would come up and visit me in the seminary, but I accepted. And I can still remember the day I drove up to the seminary to begin. First time in my life, I knew I was home. I don't know what happened. I was scared to death. And the first time I put this on scared me. But I went through 5 years there. And in 1987, I was ordained a priest for the Diocese of Fresno. So I'll always be a priest from Livingston to Bishop to Frazier Park, kind of those boundaries.
Wow.
Okay.
And I've been a priest now 26 years. And 7 children, 20 grandchildren, and which I love because as a priest, and mine are all races, so that's another thing. When I went into kindergarten the other day and I said, "Good morning, boys and girls," and you'd hear, "Good morning, Monsignor," and then you hear, "Good morning, Papa," and it made my day. It just made my day. So I became a priest, and Bakersfield being my home, it's very rare for a priest to ever be sent back to his home.
Right.
And I was invited to become pastor, and I've been pastor now for 15 years at St. Francis.
I understand there's another little wrinkle. He prayed and prayed and prayed that he could go to St. Francis, and suddenly got a call and didn't realize there was a St. Francis in Mojave.
That was my first assignment. I thought, oh my God, God hears my prayers. I did. And then my prayer changed, and I said, no, Lord, I meant St. Francis, 900 H Street, Bakersfield, California, 93304. I realized that in prayer you have to be very specific.
Yes.
Because I spent my first year in Mojave Desert at St. Francis.
I have a friend, Father Harrison, who's he's kind of the quiet man behind the National Prayer Breakfast, and 80 International Prayer Breakfasts, and he walks as a close friend with kings and prime ministers and generals and captains of industry, and he had an audience with the Pope, and one-on-one. And what do you say to the Pope if you're one-on-one? Well, what he said was, he's kind of got a voice like Andy Devine, and he goes, how do you like being Pope? And I think of the genius of that question, because it cuts right past the robes, right past the title, right to the man. And the answer was, some days it's not so hot. And I'll bet for you, some days it's not so hot.
Sometimes I think, especially, when a large parish with 8,000 families and a number of funerals, and things like that. Sometimes I wish I worked like at McDonald's in the drive-through window, where I didn't have to deal with people's pain or suffering, and in that. But you know what? It's like marriage or anything else. And I keep telling myself this, and to my people, it's not about feelings. Right now, personally, in my own personal life, I'm really, really struggling. My father died 6 months ago. My younger sister died a few years ago, and my mother is in her last days or weeks at home living with me with cancer. And it's a new experience. I've worked with lots of people. I've done all this. But I can tell you, it's taken me to a place outside of my comfort zone. And so when you're in these places, I can't rely on my feelings. I have to rely on my commitment.
Yes.
And that's why I tell married couples, it's not, I've never, ever in my life, I even say to my people, my parents sometimes, raise your hand. How many of you are married? And I go, look at all those unhappy people. It's not about being happy. It's about being committed. And same with priesthood. I surround myself with people that support what I do. I am by no far not a sinner. I'm just like Don, you, not like Tina. She's holy. But I'm like you, Don.
She is holy.
I'm like you, Don. But what I'm saying is they have to realize we're just like, we struggle with the exact same things. but that's the calling. The calling says I have to look even beyond my own
So it
sinfulness.
brings the question. Sometimes doctors are the most unhealthy people in the hospital. I mean, they're so poor at taking care of their own health. How do you? I mean, you're just constantly giving, draining. I mean, these are the most draining kind of circumstances that you're ministering and helping in. How do you recharge? What's your secret? What can you tell the world?
And I would have to say that I'm still learning. I'm 26 years old. I was 310 pounds 6 years ago. My prayer life was good. I loved my work, but I wasn't taking care of my physical life. And it wasn't like I just got big. I 5 or 6 pounds a year, and then the next thing you know, you're overweight and diabetes and all this. What I have learned is you cannot do anything alone. To me, it's a community. And I had dietitians and Diane Messmaker, she's a friend of mine, and she said, I want to train you. Do you know that she's been training me now 5 years? She comes, we meet at 5:30 in the morning. Tanya Valpredo from Luigi, she's one of my workout partners. And we work out. If they didn't come, I wouldn't do it. One day they couldn't come. One was sick and one was doing something else. And they said, your workout's all in there, go. My workout lasted 6 minutes because I'm not disciplined in that area. Prayer life, I get up at 4 o'clock every morning and I pray. Sometimes I don't feel like it, but again, it's the commitment to prayer. Then I work out. And some days the days are long, but what I find is when you balance, same with diet.
Yes.
I eat throughout the day small portions.
Right.
I try to eat healthy.
Right.
I surround myself with people that are not going to, that challenge me for that balanced life. I realized when I was preaching at 310 pounds is people liked what I said, but how could they actually believe it if I'm not authentic enough to say my life's balanced, you know, and is it still balanced? Well, I can tell you now, my spiritual life I feel is balanced. My physical life is balanced. My emotional life is all over the place with this. But I see a therapist. I have a spiritual director. I have a priest support group because all of that is what helps me to say, you know, some people my whole life, and people don't realize, because I'm really am a happy person. I have suffered from depression since the time I was 12, and I'm in serious depression, suicidal at times. When I got unhealthy and had weight, the depression came on really deep. It runs in my family, depression. But I can tell you, I tell my parishioners, don't be afraid to talk about this stuff. This is real stuff. Mental illness, depression. I said, the Prozac truck used to back up to the rectory and just dump the pills for me. But I said, I'm at a place in my life where I don't even need the antidepressants.
Excellent.
I may one day, who knows? I believe that you use everything you can. But to me, it's using all the gifts that God brings right in front of you and surrounding yourself and not being afraid to talk about what you're dealing with.
You know, Father Craig, when Tina and I conceived of this show and called it Open Up, you are the prime model of what we had hoped for it. I know a lot of you out there, all of us are struggling in these various areas, and we've wanted people to come on to open up and tell what they're going through really and how they got to the other side and what they're struggling with and how they're dealing with it. And Father Craig, you're just the model of honesty and transparency, and we so appreciate you.
Well, and with that I want to say is I'm still learning that. I can tell you this is in our world today, and I mean to the whole world, I would say this. We can't be afraid to talk about depression or mental illness or suicide in this, because when we talk about it, we can help and put an end. And one of the blessings I have felt is I love when a high school kid makes an appointment with me and they come in and they said, I heard you talk about depression and I'm depressed, because then we can help that kid find what they need.
Right.
And I'm glad. I hope that people, when they look and they say, oh, you can do this and this and this, yes, but I also know what it's like to be in that darkest place. And I love that we have things in our community that can help people in this, and I like to push people there. So to me, when you say transparency, I'm still trying to be transparent to myself.
Right.
You know, with my mother suffering right now, I keep saying to myself, I don't like to watch her suffer. I don't like to watch her die. My parents were healthy for 80 years, great parents. And 1 year they both got cancer, and I'm losing them both. But I can tell you this, my mom has taught me so much this year. It's amazing.
I think what I'm hearing here, Father Craig, is the cry of a priest's heart that he needs prayer.
Oh.
He needs prayer as he goes through this.
Yes.
I want to ask one more question.
Sure.
I've heard a fellow say, if you had 10 coins, which one is God's? And he said, the first one. He said, if you give the third or the fourth or the last, it's an offering, but it's not a tithe. And if you give the first one, it gives God the opportunity to bless all the rest in a way he never would. And he said it's the same way with time. If you give him the very first part of the day, he can bless the rest of the day in a way that he might not otherwise be able to do. And that's what you do. You get up at 4 a.m. and
I get up at 3 so I can be ready by 4. But I can tell you this, and that is 100% right. Though I would say when it comes to the tithing, I would be more apt to take all 10 coins, throw them up in the air and say, God, you take what you want and I'll keep the rest. But that wouldn't be very fair. But I can tell you this is I believe that 100%, that the days in which I am at the hospital at night or whatever and I miss that prayer, I'm going upstream all day. And the days that I really give my day and start by acknowledging the Creator and knowing that all comes from Him, I can tell you whatever comes that day, He gives me the grace to do it. And sometimes I look back and go, I can't believe that I got all that done today. And then I realize without Him, it wouldn't happen.
Exactly.
Tina, is this a great guest or what?
Yes, Don. I am just so
All right.
And it's break time. So we will be hearing from our good words for the new week coming up, and
we're going to be hearing on one of the main issues of the day, our trade deficit. So
yes,
and
on
here's
the
how
screen.
to get here's how to get Father Craig. It's St. Francis of Assisi Church, and there's their website right there,
That's
and 8,000 families there now. So there you go.
8,000. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so very much.
And if I could smile like that every day,
isn't that a smile?
Takes me away every time.
Thank
bless.
you so very much. Okay, break time.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Introducing TBC Mobile from the Bakersfield Californian. The most complete news, sports, weather, video, opinion, and lifestyle coverage in Bakersfield and Kern County. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on all things local while on the go. Read it on your smartphone or tablet. Download now by searching Bakersfield Californian in the Apple, Google, and Amazon app stores. Kern Business Journal contains news and information from local business leaders and organizations. Topics include agriculture, health and medical, energy, real estate, and more. Visit kernbusinessjournal.com to find out how to subscribe or where to pick up a free copy. To inquire about advertising in the bi-monthly Business Journal, call 395-7586. Find us online on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on kernbusinessjournal.com.
The new book is out. That was easy. I would title this thing sort of a description of what raising children is like. That was easy. I've been writing columns now for about 25 years. Writing has always been a conversation. You're taking somebody by the hand for 3 or 4 minutes, and you're not letting go. The new book, That Was Easy. Nothing easy about any of this, but we've had some fun, and I hope you guys will have some fun looking at this book.
The Bakersfield Californian is a great read on the iPad, but did you know that the Bakersfield Californian is available on your Kindle Fire? Or how about Google's Nexus 7, the Nook? You bet. You can also read a full replica of the newspaper on your Android-powered smartphone, on Apple's iPhone, or on your laptop. We have a solution for any device. E-Edition is free for subscribers, or just $7.99 a month. The Bakersfield Californian. We're everywhere and anytime. Subscribe today. Bakersfield.com.
Save 50 to 90% with the Bakersfield Californian's daily deal featured on Bakersfield.com. A daily deal is offered each weekday on services from local restaurants, dry cleaners, health and beauty services, retail shops, and local activities for the entire family. The daily deal is 100% local. Find these amazing deals only at dailydeal.bakersfield.com.
And welcome back to Open Up. And Don, we have our good words that is going to be excellent because it goes along with what we were hearing from
All right, let's hear 'em.
Monsignor Craig. So we have Doug Cowan with KAXL 88.3 FM radio station.
Ooh,
Doug?
Thank you, Tina.
Sure.
I got to hear Carlos from the mission.
Yes.
And Monsignor Craig, who was great. And part of what they talk about is that sometimes things are very difficult, and yet light can be brought to that. Things can be changed. So in my own personal study, I'm a pastor, and I'm a therapist, and I work for the radio station as a director of ministry. And I'm studying this concept of light as it runs through the Bible. And the very first part of the Bible starts with this. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Everybody's familiar with that. But the next thing it says is, now the earth was without form and void. It was lifeless. It was empty. And darkness was everywhere. And the Bible tells us that God comes to this situation, this dead, dark rock floating in space. And he says, I think I can do something with this. And so he starts to work on it. And the very first thing he does is he says, let there be light. And there was light. And the way Moses wrote this passage, before too long, there's life, and there's beauty, and there's not just the sunshine. I mean, there's a paradise, there's a garden. So when I work with people, whatever their circumstances are, when Carlos at the mission works with people, when Monsignor works with people, sometimes they come and they have these situations that they think are just totally bleak, totally dark. My marriage has no life in it. There's nothing good in my family. There's nothing good in my home. Everything in my life just seems dead or void or lifeless. And yet it's God who comes and says, I want to speak light into your situation. I want to come and bring light into that. I want to fix it. I want to make it better. So even like the Gospel of John, when you see the Son of God movie, it quotes kind of the Gospel of John, and it says Jesus came as the light of the world to bring light into our darkness when we seem ignorant or we just don't get it. That whatever situation you're in, I want to encourage you, whatever situation you're in that seems lifeless or dark, God wants to come into that situation and speak light into your situation and breathe life into your situation. If you'll let him do that, that's what he delights to do, to bring light and life into whatever situation we find ourselves in.
Wow, great words.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
You know, I'm going to steal some of your time here, Ed. I knew a counselor at the University of Oregon who has been offered tenure, but he turned it down because he said, I found I could just tell people the symptoms, but I couldn't take them to the source of the solution. And so he refused tenure, and he told me now he was free to tell people what he thought was the truth. And he had a couple come to him, and they had marital problems, and they had finally asked him what to do. And he said, you know, I think probably with your case, it'll probably take about 5 years of very expensive psychotherapy, and at the end, you probably got a 50-50 chance of saving this marriage. Or you can read the Bible, do what it says, and let God work miracles in your life. Taking them to the sword. Hey, it's time to go to Ed Davis here. Ed, I'm always stealing your time. We're going to tell people on the 27th, it's going to be Ed Davis all the time. We're going to just get serious and talk about the things that you think are so crucial to our state and to our nation and to our world. Ed Davis, now we're talking about trade today, and you've got some strong opinions about that. Let's hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. Recently, when we all saw the China Beijing Summer Olympics and that pomp and glitz that they had at the beginning of it and all the way through it, I couldn't help but think that 10 or 15 years ago, those people couldn't have put that show on. And the absolute reality is that they could put it on because that was our money. We have been giving them so much money for so long that country has actually changed dramatically. And the same with Russia with the Winter Olympics. They were completely bankrupt 10 years ago, and look at the show they put on. And absolutely, that money came from us. So this whole trade deficit thing is always swept under the rug. But the absolute reality of it is because just like the Barbie doll, even though Mattel is an LA-based company, Barbie is made in 2 factories in China, one in Indonesia and one in Malaysia, and Barbie makes over $25 million a year coming into the United States. I don't really have anything against that. But we have to absolutely understand that every year there's a 4% drain on our economy in the trade deficit. So that means in 10 years, we have lost over 40% of our economy because money going out and nothing coming back in. So our continuum of the unfortunate reality of us losing our capacity to compete in the big world has put us into a situation where, for example's sake, in 1900, a $100 bill today is worth $3.48. And let's take it a step further. $10,000 is only worth $348. So what would have $10,000 bought in 1900 versus the $348 if the three of us went to dinner? We would consume probably that amount of money, close to $348.
Do you consider all of that decline pinned to the trade deficit?
Yeah, absolutely. It is absolutely tied to that and other ramifications that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of weeks, because it's incredibly important that everybody understands what trade deficit and free trade has actually done to our economy. It's something that is a continuum. In 1995, 6% of the products at Walmart were in fact brought in import. Today it's over 60%. Target is over 30% now. And other big box stores, they simply won't answer our questions as to how much they are actually bringing in. And I don't have a problem with that either. Our problem is the way we consume, because we want to go buy a cheap screwdriver when we think it's not doing anything negative to our economy. But it is. We're just not looking at it in the correct vein. We had one thing after another like that. Just in April, from the beginning of this year to where we are now, we are right at $200 billion this year in trade deficit so far. We're running at a record pace like never before because people continue to look for that cheap screwdriver.
Or cheap anything from abroad.
That's correct. So the unfortunate reality is that we are way ahead of our normal $550 billion trade deficit that we have around the world. Crude oil is $100 billion a year, and mechanicals such as cars and parts and other mechanical things, $75 billion a year. Apparel, over $60 billion a year in money leaving our country and not coming back.
Ed, we've got about 2.5 minutes, and I've heard you speak of a solution to this, and a pretty simple solution. Why don't you go there for us, and then we'll come back to this at another week.
Yeah, well, the ultimate reality is that people just need to realize, all of us need to realize, in all polling data, it clearly says that the population want to do everything they can to curb this, but nobody actually does anything. So the first thing we have to do is make sure that everybody understands that this huge drain is taking money out of every one of our pockets and giving it somewhere else. Other countries are getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and we are getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And a strong American economy is a strong world economy. And when we are weak, the world is weak. So the ultimate reality is this trend has to be, number one, realized, and number two, step back to the 1980s and 70s when the trade deficit wasn't anywhere like it is today. We have to change how we consume, or else in another 10 years, the writing's on the wall. Over the last 10 years, we have lost 40% of our economy to trade deficit. It's just that simple. We have to realize it, and we have to change ourselves.
So, but if you've got the choice for the cheap or the expensive homemade, American-made, the choice is going to be for the cheap because people are hurting financially. So how do we systemically change that so that our screwdrivers, there's an equal price for both foreign and domestic?
Yeah, and I wanted to go into that a little bit this next week, and then
Okay.
we're going to circle the wagons on the long venue, because at the end of the day, this thing is coming down to our problem here is not only the trade deficit, but the free trade rules, which are not free.
Right.
We pay tremendous amount of taxation and tariffs to get our products into other countries. For example's sake, if we wanted to buy a American-made car in China, there is a 65% tariff
There you go.
on that car. So we have free trade.
They
They
don't.
charge the heck out of us.
All right, we're
That
going to
keeps
come
our
to that
products
later.
out
then.
of there. Sure.
Time to go.
Okay. Well, yes. What a day, huh?
What a wonderful day.
So many thanks to our sponsor today, the Mission of Kern County. And we thank you all for joining us today. See you next time.